Fandango Obon is a gathering of three distinct cultures: the West African, the Mexican Son Jarocho culture, and the Obonodori, which is Japanese Buddhist traditions.
And each year, the circle is getting more and more diverse.
As long as the energy is really good, it's very simple to collaborate. And you know, everyone has their own instruments from wherever their country is. They all have the same roots when you really think about it.
We're building an idea that it's a good thing for people of different cultures to come together, to convene in a way that's maybe unusual, actually, because they actually get to participate in another form that's different from theirs, but then they can also see, oh, you know, there's similarities about this too. We want people to feel comfortable crossing borders into other communities.
It don't matter who you are or what you do in your life. If you walk down that street and you see all these people right here doing this beautiful thing, oh, I swear
you're gonna want to jump in.
You're gonna feel it.
Yeah.
That we will encourage other communities of color to really deal with stuff about the environment. That's what this is about, connection to the earth.
We're trying to instill in people the idea that anybody can participate, and they should.
Hello, everyone. I'm Nobuko Miyamoto. I'm Artistic Director of Great Leap and the co-producer and founder of Fandango Bon. Welcome to today's workshop. It's the fourth of 7 workshops leading up to our culminating festival, which is November 15th. So mark your calendars. Usually these workshops are done in communities around Los Angeles. But because of the pandemic, of course, we are taking it online. But the advantage of that is we're able to visit some places we're not ordinarily able to visit, like today. So from this video, you can see and feel what Fandango Bon is about. And in this moment of racial reckoning in this country, it's important for us to also see that there are ways that we can gather together. And Fandango Bon has created a space to pry people out of their racial comfort zones and participate in something meaningful and joyous. So thank you for coming and returning to the circle of Fandango Bon. We use art and culture to bring people together, to deepen our relationships between our communities, but also to restore our connection to Mother Earth. So we use, and so part of that connection is acknowledging and honoring this place that we live on. And in Southern California, it's the Tongva people's land who have lived here for over 3,000 years. So we want to honor them and acknowledge them. But we also believe in the preciousness of Black lives and Black communities. So I hope you're here to join us in that same spirit. Now, one of the lovely things about Fandango Bon is that it's intergenerational. 2 of our co-founders that you saw in the video, Martha Gonzalez and Quetzal Flores, always bring their son, who you saw, Sandino, to play and join in a Fandango Bon, and we've seen him develop into an incredible musician right before our eyes. Johanna, the beautiful African dancer you saw in the video, her mother is also a dancer and brings her children from her dance class into Fandango Bon. So it's about community, it's about family, and it's about crossing borders. So our cultural traditions, which is an important part of our identity, can't continue to evolve unless youth carry it on. And in a place where pop culture dominates, it's not so easy for young people to see the value in other traditions, to take in the best of the wisdom that it has and that's sustained us through time. So today, it's my special joy to have my granddaughter, Asiyah, who sings with us in our Japanese Obon group each year. And she is with her father, Kamau, my son, here to share their Sufi tradition in the circle of Fandango Bon. Today's workshop, Songs of Praise and Presence, the Art of Qasidah and Hadrah. Welcome Kamau and Asiyah Ayubi with us from Ann Arbor, Michigan. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
Okay, here we are. So thank you for being part of this wonderful day and this special event. And I hope your friends are joining. And here I'm patting myself with the fan of Fandango Bon, because in LA, it's really, really hot today. So excuse me if once in a while I pick up the fan. Anyway, Kamau, before we get into the workshop part of it, I just want to get to know both of you a little bit better. I know you, but I would like the audience to get to know you as well. Kamau, you're a mixed blood, African and Japanese American. And because your father died early, I tried to raise you knowing both of these cultures in my own way. I taught dance at Senshin Buddhist Temple, so that was a Japanese Buddhist temple. But at the same time, I got involved with Brockman Gallery in Leimert Park in Los Angeles, which is a Black community. So I'm wondering, what was it like for you to be brought up in these sort of going back and forth between these two worlds, and how did it help you or confuse you in giving you a sense of who you are?
Yeah, I think actually when you started speaking, the first thing I thought about was just one day you telling me the meaning of my name, that my name has African and Japanese meanings, quiet warrior in Kenyan language, and to be concerned in Japanese. So from that like immediately put a personal imprint about the multicultural identity. However, when you walk out into the world, we have a world in which there are these boxes that have been created in our society that puts us into Black or white or Asian or whatever ethnicity you are. There can be this kind of frame that you're supposed to fit into. But being able to grow up in Senshin Buddhist Temple sort of thrusted me into an environment which was largely Japanese. There were not many children or adults besides those who were coming to your class in the community that were multi-ethnic. So, but at the same time, you know, it's an aesthetic. You grow up and you see the Buddhist temple, you see how things work, you hear the taiko drums, and pounding mochi and going to Obon, and you just, as a child, you're curious about it and you take it in. But there's never like this complete immersion necessarily, because you become aware that you're a little bit different. And then going to Brockman Gallery and Leimert Park, shout out to Leimert Park, you know, the blessing of that was to be immersed in a Black arts community where jazz and poetry and African drumming and workshops, many of which you helped organize for young people, were happening right there in the heart of the community. So I just grew up around this rich, creative presence of, you know, jewelers and painters and musicians and poets. And to be able to look at that, it gave me a very high view of what Black culture is, as well as insight into what Japanese culture is. So yeah, maybe there was some confusion. People look at you funny, and they see that you have like, you don't quite fit in the box. But that to me, it was about helping me shape my own identity as a human being first, that has different cultures and ethnicities that I claim and that are part of me.
You know, I remember taking you to Marcus Garvey School. That was the first school that you were in, because I wanted you to know that you were Black, and know because they taught a lot of history there. And then this little boy came. Well, I came to pick you up one day, and this little boy saw you with me, and he looked at me, he looked at you, and he looked at me, looked at you, and he said, "You're all mixed up." I said, yeah, that's when I thought, I wonder if this is the right school for you. But anyway, but our family, of course, is very mixed. Here's a picture of my now husband, Rabu, and his mother, Mamie, and Asiyah. There she is, little Asiyah as a baby. And so, Kamau, you were very talented as a visual artist, actually, and I, of course, had the secret desire that you would be a visual artist, because my mother really loved visual arts. But when you went to San Francisco and you did this mural, beautiful mural of Malcolm, who was part of your father's life, that's when you sort of started. You were starting on your spiritual life. Maybe you can go into that a little bit for us.
Yeah. So going into San Francisco State, I sort of just got into dorm life and sort of fell into the trappings of what that was, just the environment. But it led to some spiritual suffering, some emotional suffering. But it also led to spiritual seeking and seeking emotional healing. So I did have I would call it like a spiritual awakening before entering any particular faith tradition that really made me connect with a sense of something bigger than myself and a deeper way of understanding what the body and the mind spirit are. So that led to me eventually finding out about different spiritual paths, but ending up embracing Islam as a way of life at the age of 19. And, you know, I didn't come into it for political reasons. I came into it because of a spiritual sense of authenticity that I felt. And this led to me finding out about the Sufis that were, you could say, like had an ancient tradition of healing of the self and understanding the self. And then also that I would meet some Sufi groups in the Bay Area. And in the midst of doing that in college, there was this sort of art side of things, of going ahead and I was an art major, but I wasn't really into being an artist. I was more into the spiritual seeking. But it just so happened that this mural project came up, and I, you know, filled out. I mean, I did a draft, and I was actually a runner-up. I wasn't even chosen. A friend of mine, Eric Norberg, was chosen. And because he was not African American, the selection board said, "Hey, can we get someone that represents Malcolm's background?" So I was the runner-up, and I ended up doing the mural with Eric, and it was a great thing. We met Betty Shabazz, and I was able to incorporate Islam, you know, which was part of Malcolm, of course, into the mural. And
so your father was close to Malcolm, actually. Maybe you could go into that a little bit.
Yeah, so even though my father passed away when I was 2 months old, I was able to learn stories and from his side of the family, learn about his connection with Malcolm X, being a companion of Malcolm X, being a confidant, and you know, Malcolm X being part of our family in a great sense.
Mm-hmm.
So that was inspiring. And again, I didn't really think about that as much in coming into Islam, but it's definitely was part of my identity growing up anyway.
Mhm.
It was a powerful. It's a powerful reckoning to think about that in the background.
So, Sufism. Explain a little bit about Sufism. How is Sufism different than Islam, or is it?
Sufism, I would say it's the heart and soul of Islam. If Islam has actions of such as saying Assalamu alaikum, peace be upon you, that's an action. But inside of you, are you cultivating peace? Are you connecting to the source of peace? So Sufism focuses on your connection to the realities of God's beautiful names, beautiful attributes like life, like creator, like light, and so forth. How does your inner self and soul get purified and close to the source of life and the source of peace and the source of creation?
And sometimes there's sort of not a misunderstanding, but because there are certain rules that Sufism doesn't adhere to, in terms of there's a lot of music and there's a lot of arts in Sufism, and in normal Islamic practice, it's not as so much utilized.
I would say historically, in the last 100 years, 150 years, the sort of Wahhabi Salafi influence, especially in the West, they suppressed music, they suppressed loving expression of poetry. But this actually, poetry and music has been part of the Islamic tradition for 1400 years, ever since the time of Prophet Muhammad. When he was welcomed into Medina, there was poetry sung, Tala al-Badru alayna, as you know, and on. This art and spirituality was always interconnected. It was always part of the tradition. In the past years, that got suppressed, but fortunately, we've been able to connect with Sufi teachers who kept that alive in us and encouraged us to stay connected in that way, and to be ourselves, but be people of the Prophet Muhammad too.
So you took some very big leaps of faith in your life. As a parent, I will say that. That pushed us to take some leaps of faith as well. And, one was being married very young, and two is having a lot of children. You had 4 children, one after another. And then when you were working in Oakland and sort of settled in Oakland, we were in proximity with each other. And then suddenly you rose up and picked up your children and moved to Michigan. And how did this kind of faith and leaps shape your life, and how did it lead you actually to become imam? And
well, the interesting thing about so I'll start from the front back. This whole idea of the imam is very interesting, because when I first met my teacher, Sheikh Nazim and Sheikh Hisham, but when I met Sheikh Nazim, who was our grand teacher, we're actually in one of the places he established in the 90s in Fenton, Michigan, near Flint, about half an hour away from Flint. But when I met Sheikh Nazim, the first thing he said to me, I had no beard at that time. He flicked under my beard and under my chin, and he said, Imamuna. He said, our Imam. And it struck me. I was about 20 years old, and I was just like, okay, whatever. I don't know. Like, we're just, but that impression, of course, was strong, because this teacher meant so much to me, and his spiritual presence was so powerful. And his words carry weight, in your heart, in your mind, in your being. So that was a sort of windy road of growing into that up into this present day. But before this, we met our teacher, Sheikh Hisham, in Oakland, California, in the Bay Area. Before I was married, before Asiyah came shortly after that into our lives. But we had that connection with the teacher in Oakland, in the Bay Area. And so we lived in the Bay Area. But after some time, Sheikh Hisham was spending more time in Michigan, where they had founded this center back in the 90s. He was living here in this area. He was here more and more, and we started to visit. And there was this sort of feeling of spiritual intensity that we felt here. So it sort of planted a seed in our hearts, like, wow, this is Oakland. Okay, it's cool. But there's like a different intensity of the spiritual training and chanting and practices that we experienced here. So that attracted us. Then about 14 years ago, we started getting interested in chaplaincy through assistant imam, being an assistant imam in the Bay Area. I met a chaplain, and then I found out about a chaplaincy program in Michigan, and that ended up drawing me to inquire about it and get accepted into a program. And we basically did make a leap of faith 13, 14 years ago to make that move, to be around our teacher, to be in a new page in life and try a new step, try and grow.
I remember actually we had an event at Senjin Buddhist Temple that Sheikh Hisham, actually a big event that they did there. And so the Sufi community came, and Reverend Godani was there, and I was sitting next to Sheikh Hisham, and he said, oh, so is Kamau your only son? And I said, yes. And he said, and he moved away to Michigan. I said, yes. And he says, don't worry, someday he'll come back. So that was my only hope. That
he gave you.
I felt his kindness for one, and he understood, who we were as a family, and it sort of humanized him and to me, So it was an interesting experience. It's been a journey for our whole family, and it's a pleasure to be able to sort of share this journey with our friends and community, broader community. So, and also it's really been a special thing for me to be able to work with Asiyah, because and to sing with her. The first time actually I heard Asiyah sing was in in Los Angeles, in the sort of makeshift mosque that they had in the West Side. And one of the ladies, it wasn't Soraya, one of them said, oh, Asiyah sings like an angel. And I went, Asiyah sings? I had never heard her sing. And she said, sing, Asiyah. And then Asiyah just, boom, she just sang, just like out of the blue, And I went, oh my gosh, Asiyah sings, and such a ease and such like it was such a natural thing, and it was a beautiful thing for me to see. So that from that time on, Asiyah began singing whenever we could, sing together in the groups that I had. And that's been a lot of fun. But let's go back a little bit back, Asiyah, into your background. I mean, you grew up basically in Oakland and Berkeley, a very, multicultural world. And what was it like for you to move to Michigan? How old were you? And was that sort of a culture shock?
It was definitely a big culture shock. I mean, growing up in Oakland, we had a lot of programs that involved the African American community. And, I spent time gardening and cooking food in a program called O-Bugs. And I went to a charter school that was super arts-based. And the community was just very mixed. And even though it was mostly African American in Oakland, there was a lot of different cultures presented. And then when I turned 10, we moved to Michigan. We moved to Michigan. My parents were like, hey, we're making the move. And I said, what? I remember crying, actually. I was so sad because I had visited Michigan before, and it was snowing, and it was just not anything like where I grew up. So I was definitely sad, but eventually I made friends here, and that actually brought about the Qasidah group that I'm in. We started that. I was 13 years old when we started back in 2010, and it was just a breath of fresh air, honestly, because I don't know. Living in Michigan, it was hard. I'll be honest. It was really hard. It was definitely a culture shock. So,
Well, I was apprehensive feeling because culture is an important part of our family, and and I knew that you were surrounded with a lot of different kinds of culture, Asian and African American, et cetera, in California. And then when I visited the mosque in Burton, I was sort of touched to see a community that was mixed culturally. The Sufi community is actually very culturally and internationally mixed.
Mhm.
And then I saw you young girls singing, and I thought, oh, so culture is not missing from their life. And but how did it come about that you? Because it's very unusual for women to be seen singing in the Islamic culture in this country, at least. And so, how did it come about that you girls got started?
So, the founding member of our group, Sajda, her father is actually Sheikh Isham, which is our spiritual teacher, our sheikh. And she went to Indonesia with him a couple of times, and she came back from one of the trips. And I remember her bursting through the doors of the mosque, and she's like, "We're gonna start a Qasidah group." And I remember we would get together every Saturday, practice almost 6 hours a day every Saturday, just teaching ourselves the drumming and the singing, watching videos from Indonesia, actually to get inspiration, and knowing that there was a bunch of like orphanages that these kids would sing at in Indonesia and just sing their heart out, and the drumming was amazing. We were definitely very inspired.
So you actually went to Indonesia.
We did. 2 years after our inception, we went to Indonesia, and we sang in front of a large crowd of people. It was definitely a different experience, especially the culture was different, but people were so accepting and so interested in us as much as we were in them, I think. So yeah.
When you say a large crowd, what do you mean by that?
Uh, well, we went and performed at this guy, Habib Sheikh. He does like these mega maulids, which are basically times where people sing the qasidahs, just a whole, it's like a concert, and so we went to that concert, and it was 200,000 people there, and I almost like lost it. It was definitely nerve-wracking to be singing in front of all the people. But I mean, everybody knew the lyrics that we were singing, so people sang with us, and it was definitely like just this amazing feeling coming from that. So
let's get into this. Is a good segue into getting into the music, actually, and then we'll get into the movement of the Hadrah. But so, shall we show the video then? Just show the kind of where this culture came from, and then we'll get into the actual doing of the music.
Okay, so just to give an introduction of what this video is, it was created by one of our fellow, like Sufi Brotherhood filmmakers. It was filmed in Montreal, Canada, in which we have many West African, North African Sufi students. And so they're showing the dhikr, which is remembrance. And then dhikr, the more you remember, the more you're present, right? When you remember God, you become present with God by mentioning like Allah or Hay, it's life. You start to get that energy of the angelic energy, and that brings you to a state of presence in which you move in the Hadrah, you move your body to also coordinate your heart, your intention, and your speech with movement. And so there's a tradition there are different traditions where the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, would say something like really inspiring to his students, to his companions. And they would sometimes go into a state of ecstasy, and they would start whirling or hopping, and and out of ecstasy, they couldn't help but move. So in a sense, we're trying to follow in that tradition. It's a good alternative to going to the disco every Saturday. Go to the club. Instead, we have like a heavenly club night. We have a heavenly movement, and we enjoy the ecstasy and the wine of divine love instead of vodka or whatever Bacardi. We go into the divine love,
Okay.
and we enjoy ourselves.
But I just saw a note from Tamika, who last week did the a ring shout and a Juma circle, and
Yes.
you guys saw it also, and just to see, it really made me see the similarities of these ecstatic forms of joy taking over the body, and so.
So as I said, so this tradition of Hadrah and Dhikr is not something new. It's something ancient. But we're doing it now in our context in the United States and in the West, but still the roots are the same.
Right.
And so that's true. West Africans came and they had their Islam, they had their Sufism in them too. And they used to do different things. You know, it's part of African American spirituality is that connection with the Sufis as well. So, you know, and that's a blend of probably different African cultures of being in the United States. So yeah, I definitely say that there's a connection. I believe that strongly.
Okay, so let's see the video.
Oh, last thing,
Oh,
it does have parts of in Morocco and sort of just showing like some past and some present. So that's just to let you know what you're seeing.
But I also see that sort of that connection with the earth is there, a sense of really belonging to the earth. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Wow, yes. It's connection to the ancients, really. And Tamika, yes, the roots are the same. The roots are the same. So, Asiyah, you're a young person who's connected to this sound and this song. Tell me what it's done to you and how you relate to this music and how you've become embedded in the music.
Honestly, like singing Qasidah gave me a purpose. in life. Actually, it's something that is a big part of my life. Singing these praises, singing these remembered songs. You know, it's all poetry. Um, yeah, it's a big part of my life. It helped me grow up, and you know, it brought me into the circle of Fandango Bone. I remember when I wanted to move to LA, I actually asked Shaky Sham. I asked him, I said, "Is it a good idea?" And he said, "Go, you'll be successful." And you know, I think that's definitely been a big part of my life too. He has been a big part of my life and pushing me to do these, you know, Qasidahs for different kinds of communities. Yeah, it's a big part of my life.
So I really want to show. I want you to. We want to hear something about these songs.
Okay.
Something for us.
All right, yeah, I'll sing.
You want to explain a little bit of what you're going to sing? Yeah.
So this song, Ya Badratim, it's a song about describing the Prophet Muhammad as a full moon in all of its splendor, and it's just one of my favorite songs to sing. Yeah, so I'll sing for you. يا بدراتيم يا بدراتيم من حذا كل لك ماني ماذا يعاب ماذا يعاب عن أولى كما أنت الذي أشرقت في أفق العلا أنت الذي أشرقت في أفق اللهم صل وسلم وبارك عليه وعلى آله.
It was beautiful. It was beautiful. Yes. Yes. Not only do you sing this, it's a solo piece. Usually it's done in with other people, correct? It's a call and response kind of thing.
So this song is actually not a call and response, but we do usually sing it as a group together. I feel like that's how Qasidas are most enjoyed as a community. So back when we first started, we would really try and get people to learn the songs. So we would print out the lyrics and pass them out and get people to join in. You know, it's about feeling that joy and feeling that belonging, you know, that we're in a community together and we have this as a vessel to move, you know. So yeah.
That's what Fandango Bon is about.
Yeah.
It's about participation, because most of the time, you know, in the U.S. and American culture, we're observers. We're not participators. And democracy only works when you participate. And democratizing the arts so that people feel can experience the richness of it is really important. We're not in the schools. We used to be taught the arts much more. Now, you know, sports is important, but the, you know, reading and writing and arithmetic, whatever. But people don't see the intelligence. There's another kind of intelligence that takes over when you're doing music. When you're moving your body, when you're dancing, it's a different kind of intelligence that's just as powerful and just as you know, it's intelligent as doing math. Yes, yeah.
There's something very healing about music, and I think universally people feel that way. And that's what Qasidahs are. They're about healing and about feeling good, you know. I think that's a big part of it.
Oh my God, Alonzo Davis. Did you see this? Alonzo. Hi, Alonzo. Hi, Vicky.
Hi.
Alonzo's tuned in. And Alonzo, of course, was the Brockman Gallery.
Yeah.
Where, you know, Kamau, and yeah, that was your stomping grounds for many of your young years. And it's still there. Lemert Park is still there and still a vibrant place because of what Alonzo and Dale started them. And so the arts, like this music, is internal, really. And so now, Kamau, you're going to show us how. Is that where we're going?
Yeah, we can.
How we can participate in this music with our bodies, because as a dance person, I started out, dance was my first language. So I really feel the importance of how, of one of the powerful things about Fandango Bon is actually dancing in the circle together. That there's something about moving bodies together that create an energy that you can't get in any other way. And so it's like low tech is high tech to me right now. I think this is low tech, you know, getting away from our little phones here, these little square things, rectangular things, is really a powerful. It's another kind of technology that young people should have the chance to connect with. So connect us.
So we'll start with a couple. We're gonna do a couple things. The first one is just it's part of a qasidah that's gonna be sung later, but it's dhikr. So dhikr, again, it means to remember, right? To recall, and dhikr is by intention in your heart. It's so important that you develop in your heart an intention to connect with mercy, to connect with love, to connect with healing, forgiveness, and so. One of the chants that we do in one of these songs is calling upon the essence of the divine through the name Hu, like our breath, Hu. So, and then there's this attribute of God, Hay, which is life, Al-Hay, Al-Qayyum, the living, the ever living. So we use our breathing and our chanting, and then we add movement to it. So we're gonna just start first. People that get ready, and whoever's listening, you can join in, and you can listen to what I say and follow along. So it's gonna be a simple chant. It goes, Hu 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 hu. Hi, 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 hi. Hi, 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 hi. Ho, 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 ho. Hi, 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 hi. Ho, 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 ho. Hi, 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 hi. Okay, so that's the verbal. And then there's movement that's contraction and expansion. So it's gonna be like this. Hoo, 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 hoo. Hi, 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 hi. Hoo, 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 hoo. Hi, 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 hi. One more time. Hoo, 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 hoo. Hi, 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 hi. So that repetitive chanting, that repetitive movement, it's this is like the rhythm of the heart. You know, we have contraction, we have expansion, we have receiving, we have giving. So that's a very basic movement that you'll see in the Hadrah, and it'll be repeated over and over and over. And you hopefully raise a sense of like heightened awareness, angelic awareness. And the second move that we're going to do today is there's a story of back in the time during Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, was preaching a sermon on a minbar like this right here. See those stairs that go up? He was preaching, and a man came in and he interrupts the service. He says, "Ya Rasulullah, when is the day of judgment?" And you're not really supposed to speak during a sermon nor interrupt the Prophet when he's speaking. But the Prophet just kept speaking. He didn't stop what he was doing. And the man yelled again, "Ya Rasulullah, when is judgment day?" And the Prophet just kept speaking as normal. And then he interrupted a third time, "Ya Rasulullah, when is judgment day?" And the Prophet stopped. And it said that that Gabriel, the angel Gabriel, gave permission to speak and respond to this person. And he said, "Oh, you know, this is a long journey. What you're asking about is a very long journey. What did you prepare for that journey? What did you prepare for it?" And the man said, "Well, I didn't prepare a lot of prayers. I didn't prepare much fasting. I don't do a lot, but I've prepared love for you. That's my preparation so far." And the Prophet, peace be upon him, said, people in general will be gathered with whom they love. People will be gathered with whom they love. And that Bedouin like became very happy, and he just took off. He left in his happiness. But Abu Bakr, who we take our lineage from, he heard this and he deeply understood something very important, is that it wasn't about your actions that outwardly that's important. It's about the love that you have in what you do that's important. That without love, it's incomplete. But the Prophet confirmed that when people truly love, then they're going to be gathered together in this life, and they're going to be gathered together in eternal life. Who likes to be gathered with someone they don't love? I don't know. You're going to be with who you love. So that was super exciting for Abu Bakr. And it's said in some traditions, the Sufi teachers said that Abu Bakr went like this and he started whirling. So he started whirling like this out of happiness. And so it said that Maulana, the Rumi, and students all and followers all throughout the ages, they keep doing this whirling, which is representing love, which is representing the body circumambulating the heart, and the crowds of people circumambulating the Kaaba for the love of the divine, and the planets are circumambulating the sun, and the whole universe is circumambulating around a huge star. Everything is like moving around this center of the universe, and the atoms are doing the same thing. So it's a counterclockwise movement like that. So it's a movement like in this direction. So you see people moving counterclockwise. So that's what we're going to do in a slow way. We're going to go through the steps by that, and you can be in your space and join in on that. Take your position where you have space to move around safely. We're not going to go fast, okay? I don't want to hear about anyone like, no. Just go on your pace. Be centered in what you're doing and be present with love in your heart. So the first thing I'm going to focus on is the feet. and you're gonna plant your left foot, right? So that your right foot is free to pivot. And so your left foot is planted, and then you just turn slowly like this. So you're turning counterclockwise and focus in on your body, focus in on your heart, your breathing, your presence, balance. Okay, you can feel that. Okay, and then we're going to add to that movement the hands. So you have your right hand, you put your right hand in as if you're being receptive. You're receiving the support that flows through your breath, that flows through the universe. You're opening up with your right hand, and then you turn with your right hand up to the sky. So open up to that sensation. And then your left hand, so your right hand is up, your left hand is out and down, pointing, like reaching out to people, reaching out to your neighbor, reaching out to your loved ones with support, with help after you receive. So right hand up, left hand down. Okay, you got that? Good. Now, slowly turning, pivoting on the left foot, pivoting on the left foot. And just feel that, imagine yourself. Actually, you don't have to imagine yourself, just be in yourself. Connected, moving. And then you come back to center. And you can allow yourself to feel centered now in your heart. So those are the two movements that we're gonna do now with the group, unless there's gonna be discussion first, maybe Q&A a little bit. But there's who, hi, 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 who, hi, 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 hi. Come back to center. Very good. All right.
So now, what are we going to do? We're going to bring on the girls. You're going to bring on
Some very good friends of mine here. Medina.
I want to just say, okay, so you have the Zahra Ensemble, who was founded with Asiyah and Sajda and the original group. And what I saw that happen with this is it started to open doors, and that other groups started forming in different areas. So Chicago, a lot of these young ladies, they actually started their music in Chicago, and now they do their music here in the farm and around wherever they can, different concerts and things. So there's different groups that grew out of this, out of the planting of that seed. It inspired people to take on the songs that they like and do the drumming and on and on. So I've seen at least a few different groups that have done this in DC, in Chicago, even locally in Michigan. Oh yeah, and this is the farm, pictures of the farm.
This is where we are now. So yeah, introducing Zahra Medina. We're gonna sing and accompany my dad as he does the Hadrah and the Dhikr. So
okay. So are there any questions so far before we start?
I don't see any questions, but I think it's pretty self-explanatory. I'd like you to introduce the young women of your ensemble.
Yeah. So I'm Julia, I'm the youngest member of the Hadrah Medina, and I'm the drummer.
Oh, where am I? Hi, I'm Miriam. I'm Mobina.
Hi, I'm Zainab.
And I'm Naziha. I'm the oldest member.
Okay, so I'm gonna adjust the sound and the picture, and then you'll be muted, Mom. So
Yes.
you'll be on mute. So. How do you not get dizzy? How do you not get dizzy? Go slow. Just focus. You can look at your palm of your hand as you're spinning. Don't look around too much. Just look into the palm of your hand, but center yourself in your core as you turn. Okay? So you're focusing on the palm of your hand, of your right hand as you turn.
It's the opposite. It's the opposite.
Counterclockwise. Okay. Let me see how I look. I have to go up a little bit.
Hey, 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 hey,
All right. All right. Wow, that was beautiful. That was beautiful. You know, this it's so special to be able to share something that probably most people have never seen before and seem foreign to people. But actually, when you get into it, it's not foreign at all. It feels very familiar, and that's how I felt once I got into it. So, actually, it's really it gives me a special thrill to bring this world into Fandango Bone and to our group, because these walls that we live around, these walls that want to be built, they're not just walls that are actual walls. They're walls of thinking, and there's walls of feeling, and there's walls of discrimination, etc. So how does that end? You know, in the world that we're living today, how do we end those divisions? How do we end the fear that is being tried to portray between people? And I think today we did something very special. And thank you so much for all of you who came and who came to see and came to do and participate, and who are doing it. Because this is how we're going to change our world. This is how we're going to change our world for the better. So, are there any questions from our audience, from the people out there? Oh, wow. So there, thank you. BJ, yes. Yes, I saw Carla. I saw Joyce Nakamura.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Any comments, or maybe we'll just do one more song?
Would you like one more song? Yeah?
We have time, yeah.
Okay.
What would you like? Okay, we're gonna do one more.
Okay.
All right.
خير البرية نظر إلي خير البرية نظر إلي ما أنت إلا كنز عتيق ما أنت إلا كنز عتيق خير البرية نظر إلي خير البرية نظر إلي ما أنت إلا يا سيدي كنز عتيق ما أنت إلا يا سيدي
Thank you. That was beautiful. That was beautiful. Thank you. You know, this has been such a special time that bringing all of these different forms together in this virtual world that we're living in right now. To see actual people together singing is just a joy. And I know that you've been gathered a lot together. 4 of you are sisters, right?
Yes. That's
Yes, raise your hands, sisters. Yeah, so you're in the same household, so you're in a safe place. Okay, so Dickie's saying this moment together created a beautiful, positive, healing energy prayer into our world. Thank you, Asiyah, ladies, Kamau, Nobuko, my heart, soul is nourished and full. Oh, thank you, thank you. So Tamika, how can people hear the women sing and play again? How do we do this?
Instagram account, which I don't know if you can like type in.
Instagram.
Yeah, it's Zahra Sol Medina.
yeah, Zahra TL Medina.
I think I'll take it. You can
TU
find us there. We
TUL.
do Instagram
What's
live.
TL?
TL. Yeah. MADINAH.
Hadrah Tul Medina. It is TL. MADINAH.
Yeah.
Okay. How can we take the metaphor of dance and spirit to a literal form of these in our community we disagree with, whether political or ideological? So this is an interesting question. It could be answered in many ways. I think with the Sufi tradition, there's a big emphasis on overcoming the internal tyrant that we all have within us, an aspect of our being that can be excessive, that can be overly judgmental, that can be greedy. And so our challenge is to identify within ourselves through the key of mercy, through the key of compassion, to apply it to ourselves and start to slowly melt that down and bring our characteristics into the fold of mercy and compassion. And so when you that's a lifelong journey, but you also are able to start to work through that in your relationships with those who are nearest to you, and then with your neighbors or with your people in your workplace or in your work. How do we collectively, we all need care and compassion in order to live in this life. Without care and compassion, we're gonna fall apart. So even if you revive in small circles, spaces that are to learn from the reality of compassion, to let that reality of compassion flow through you, flow through the people that are around you, and see each other through that lens. This is the challenge, because in the end, you know, that's what we belong to. That's what we're going to return to. You can live a life of fight and flight, but what can be learned when people are in a state of fighting or running away from each other? And so our own nervous systems do that. They can get into excessive fight or flight. How do we ascend to a perspective that's above or transmutes this fight or flight into space for understanding and collaboration and growth? Go ahead, Mom.
I didn't mean to interrupt. Just to say that Fandango Obon is just one sort of space that can do that. It's an example. And the idea of Fandango Obon, it started, yes, with Mexican community and Japanese community, then it grew into African American community and now the Sufi community, because we're all related either by neighborhoods or by family. So, but this can happen anywhere and with different communities of intentionally gathering. And at first, maybe it's awkward. At first, maybe it's uncomfortable. But as we do it more and more, and it'll start with a few, as we do it more and more, just like this becomes more comfortable. And when we see each other doing what we do, it's not so foreign at all. You know, if it's familiar, we can see the familiarity of it. We can hear the familiarity of it. So it's just allowing ourselves to be in proximity and to create spaces where this can happen. Fandango Obon can happen in Michigan, in Detroit, or in Ann Arbor. as well as in Los Angeles, as well as in Long Beach, as well as in Washington, D.C., etc. Especially in Washington, D.C. So, so, Sean, that's a good question. And I think it's up to all of us to make small intentions to begin. Fandango Bone started with one song. Quetzal and I just saying, wonder what would have happened if we combined Fandango with Obon. One song led to a circle of communities, and then bigger, more communities. And then 1 year, 2 years, 8 years now. And the more we do it, the more we learn and the more we gather.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, so this is, it's been a beautiful time together for our family, Asiyah and Kamau. I'm indebted to you for making this effort. It's not easy to gather people and to bring in this wonderful group of women, Zarat, Madina, and again, say your names and let us know who you are. Yes.
I'm Jamila. I'm Miriam. I'm Mu'mina. I'm Zainab.
I'm Naziha.
Someone also put on their comments, they put like a healing space,
Yes.
And
yes.
That's a space for healing. Yeah, that's
yes. We all have to. We can all do that. So I want to thank Dan Kwong and also Cesar, who is our engineer and who's behind organizing, and both of them organizing this. Cesar, you want to step out of the into the public eye, because I want these young singers to meet another singer. His name is Cesar. And he's the one that's pushing the buttons and making this happen. And Cesar is from Veracruz, Mexico. He lives now in Los Angeles, and he works with Fandango Bone, and he has his own group. And he's a very well-known singer from the area he comes from and from Mexico. People hear his voice, and they know it's him. So I just want to just briefly, because here we are, we're all together. I want you to play a little something for us and sing. I want them to hear your voice.
Thank you. I definitely will do it as a sign of thank you for this beautiful time. Quiero despedirme, pero no quiero ausentarme, quiero despedirme, quiero irme, quiero quedarme, por no quedarme sin irme, quiero despedirme, pero no quiero ausentarme.
So this is how we gather. And when Fandango people gather, right, Cesar, people gather for hours and hours and hours together and play music in a circle. And dancers are in the middle, and they stomp out rhythms with their feet. So their feet are the drums. Their feet are the drums, and the musicians stand around with their haranas, like he was playing, and they sing, and they actually make up verses as well. So this is a tradition that is from his country that they're spreading all over. And I'm wondering if in Detroit there's a Fandango groups in Detroit, and if there is, hey, we should try to see if we can start something going in Michigan with bringing a Sufi's Fandango. I know there's Taiko people there.
There's definitely West Africa.
And West African. So, all the elements are there to bring people together from the four corners. And So thank you so much, all of you, for being part of Fandango Bones workshop. Our partners, especially the Japanese American Cultural and Community Center in LA, where is our home base, and Sustainable Little Tokyo, which focuses on sustainability, because this is not only about sustaining our cultures, it's about sustaining our spaces that and our neighborhoods that we live in. So you can continue to participate and follow us on our next journey. Next Saturday, we're going to be doing Obon from the Japanese experience, Japanese American, and from Japan, to understand how we brought over this tradition of Obon, which is an ancestor remembrance. And visit our Facebook page and also our fandangobon.com, our website, which Asiyah built for us. And what else am I supposed to say? November 15th, we're going to be doing the big festival and bringing all of these forms and music together. It would be wonderful if people created videos of themselves doing spinning, Hadrah, whatever, send it to us, and we'll try to incorporate it in the festival so we can show that people are participating. But I wanted to end with this one thought, because people will gather with whom they love. Kamau said, people will gather with whom they love. So, but not only that, I think when you gather, you will love with whom you're gathered with. So let's gather, whether it's in our squares or in our spaces, that we will be able to gather again soon. Thank you so much, everybody. Thank you, Dan. Thank you, Cesar. Thank you, Asiyah, Kamau, all of you for singing and playing and participating today. So here we go. Till next Saturday, 2 o'clock. Assalamu alaikum. Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam.